to every person around America to not just celebrate 4th of July, but to actually celebrate and understand the meaning behind this Independence Day, the meaning behind America.
So the ceremony today is really unique and it's super special. And the way we start it is to have everyone take a sip of iced tea to remember the Boston Tea Party.
Iced tea. Iced tea.
All right,
Iced tea, iced tea. Happy Independence Day. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. We are days away from Independence Day. Happy 248th birthday, America. Yes.
Woo! Yeah. You don't look a day over 247. That's
love
all I
it.
gotta say.
I love it.
Yes.
Jill Simonian here with PragerU Kids.
Well, maybe you do
Joining me-
if you look at the president.
Okay. Maybe.
Sorry, I went there.
Uh-oh, wonk wonk.
Okay.
Joining me today, Richard Lim. We like to call him the resident history geek here at PragerU Kids, but I really like to give the credibility where credibility is due, and you are our chief researcher joining us today. We're having a great conversation. We're going to talk about Independence Day, but also an attack on patriotic education, a most serious attack on patriotic education. And what we just saw, if you joined us right at the top of this video, you saw the opening of the video with our PragerU Kids declaration ceremony, which is this super special activity that we can do with our families to actually teach our children about the founding of America, what she stands for, who she is, what our shared collective cultural American roots are for why we celebrate the 4th of July. And it really coincides with a call to action that I have personally for all parents this 4th of July that can combat this attack on patriotic education. Before we start the conversation with Richard and I want you, all of you on Facebook and YouTube, if you're joining us live, if you're just joining us, subscribe to PragerUkids.com. For one, if you haven't already, it's free, but also drop a comment telling us what state you're in or perhaps what country you're in, because I know oftentimes we have a lot of international viewers and listeners, which, hello, if you are outside of the United States, please tell us what country you're from, but definitely tell us what state you're in. PragerUkids.com, if you don't know already, is wholesome, age-appropriate content that's educational and fun. It is free for all, kindergarten through 12th grade, and we are now partnered with 7 states to be.
That's amazing.
It's amazing,
That's
right?
awesome.
I just
Yes.
doesn't it make you? It's so uplifting to hear that, right?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially since we were here when a lot of this started. So to see it grow, it's an incredible thing to see.
It is incredible. 7 states partnered with so far non-mandatory supplemental educational materials for teachers to use in classrooms should they see fit in Louisiana, Oklahoma, Montana, New Hampshire, Texas, Florida, Arizona. Woo! Now,
should they see fit? That's the key.
Should they see
It's
fit?
a key phrase.
And
So.
the left, a la the attackers of patriotic education, are flipping out. And today, I'm glad that all of you are joining us because Richard and I are going to be talking about this really severe and concentrated attack on patriotic education, which happened, I think, most poignantly with our recent Louisiana announcement. We announced in May that we were partnered with Louisiana schools for non-mandatory supplemental education to really coincide with something that Louisiana Department of Education cites as Freedom Week in September. It's essentially Constitution Week for Constitution education. And Louisiana leaders, Democrats, I mean, let's just be factual here. We don't, I never really like to cite party lines because here at PragerU and PragerU Kids, we firmly believe in being free thinkers. And we believe in, there is diversity of thought, okay?
Course,
And I
there
really
should be.
don't like to draw lines with party lines here as a personal thing. But Democrat leaders
That's
in
just
Louisiana,
That's
that is
just
a fact.
Yes.
Democrat leaders in Louisiana accused PragerU of being, get this, anti-Semitic to keep us out of Louisiana schools. I want to talk about today, and you can drop your comments, why this is happening, Richard, how this is not a coincidence, and later, I want to really talk about the 45 declared goals of communism from the 1950s and how this all ties together with that. You are going to be shocked. You don't want to go anywhere. We're going to explain this later. But this attack on patriotic education, Richard, just very quickly, is this part of a historical cycle? Because a lot of us say, why in the world is this happening and how do we get here? Is this part of history?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is that it's fascinating because when we partner with schools, teachers, as you alluded to, are not required to show our videos. It's an option.
Yes.
And the funny thing about this is that this is not something that we're mandating anyone show. It's just we have a lot of videos that talk a lot about different things. And if you want to hear
500
over
for
500,
kids.
yeah. And if you want to have and they're on all sorts of things. They're on economics, they're on history, philosophy, faith, practical life living. And if you literally just wanted to have our videos to show kids and a teacher could show them and criticize them.
Right.
You could literally show them and say, this is horrible
And
stuff.
dispute everything.
Yeah, they're free to do that. They're literally, so this should actually, if you are really dedicated to diversity of thought, freedom of speech, these great values that made our country what it is, you would want the opportunity to do this. So then the question is, why don't they even want people to watch them?
I don't know.
Period. And it's because they don't believe in freedom of speech. They just want to silence you.
It's true.
And,
it's true.
yeah.
And I got to tell you, so one of the comments that was dropped at the very get-go, tell us what state you're from. The first comment I see here is from Ray, and it says, more propaganda from PragerU. Hey, Ray, you're free to definitely have your opinion, and we stand true to our word. We welcome diversity of thought. But right now, I want to take a look at a few of the over 500 media hit pieces about PragerU kids being included in schools. We have a video. Jace, if we're ready to roll it, let's go and let's just take a look. It's coming right up. Stay tuned. We've had over 500 media hit pieces
We are
about.
really making a difference.
There we go.
PragerU. You know how I know it? Because I see how much we're attacked.
Florida is now the first state to allow conservative curriculum known as
PragerU Kids as an educational vendor.
Oklahoma's Department of Education has just announced an ongoing partnership.
Controversial videos online is now getting the green light to teach the curriculum in Arizona schools.
Here is Texas State Board of Education member Julie Pickren with White Christian Nationalist Barbie over here.
Now, let's be clear. Prager University is not an accredited college, not an accredited university.
Despite the name is not a university.
Not a real university, mind you.
Which, of course, is not an actual accredited educational institution.
Don't let the name fool you. PragerU is not a university.
PragerU actually is not a actual university at all.
We've never claimed to be a university.
Who am I talking to? You.
PragerU.
Beyond the shiny studios, bright lights, and cartoons was a belief that our country is at war.
We are at war, and I'm going to ask, we can just cut it right there. We are at war with suppression of education and suppression of thought. And that is what we are at war. And nothing illustrates this more than our recent announcement in May 2024 of PragerU Kids partnering with Louisiana schools. The Democrats in the legislature tried to block the Louisiana Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Cade Bremley, from allowing PragerU Kids to be used in classroom as non-mandatory supplemental materials should a teacher find one of our videos or books useful to them.
Even if they want to trash it.
Even if they want to trash it. So let's right now, I want to pull up this article from Breitbart. And the title here is Louisiana Dems Try and Fail to Punish Education Superintendent Over PragerU Partnership, Smear Organization as Anti-Semitic. Now,
that's amazing.
I can't help but laugh at anti-Semitic because guess what? Dennis Prager is a very devout Jew.
Yeah, a practicing devout Jew. Yes.
Marissa Streit, our CEO, is a practicing Jew. Their belief in Judaism, how can you be anti-Semitic at this? Please shed some light on this.
No,
Richard.
absolutely. Well, the thing is that it would be one thing if the people that criticized us actually got to know us. They actually watched our videos. Have they watched any of our videos talking about the Holocaust? Have they watched any of our videos talking about Israel? Have they watched any of the videos that we talk about the Bible, the Hebrew Bible? They haven't. And when you read through these articles, and as you just mentioned, so many of our leadership, our founders, are Jewish, and they're devout Jews. And I think whenever you read any article criticizing us, do they say anything specific, or do they just say they're evil, racist, anti-Semitic, all the bad words,
To your
right?
point, and in this specific article in Breitbart, the article cites, quote, Louisiana's children deserve unbiased, fact-based education free of political agendas, said a statement by Representative Edmund Jordan, who's a Democrat of Baton Rouge, who chairs the Black Caucus. Instead, quote, this is Representative Jordan saying this. Instead, Superintendent Brumley betrayed his responsibilities to help rewrite history in service of right-wing extremists. That is what...
Nothing specific, just
Correct.
Throwing out labels, no references to the content that we do. One of my favorite accusations is when they call us, they say propaganda, but they said that our materials are hyper-partisan.
Right.
These are the same people that say nothing about the fact that, well, according to Pacific Research, 97% of English teachers in America, 97%, that's almost
Right.
unanimous, are Democrats. And get this, among health teachers, 99% are Democrat. Math and science, it's a little bit more even-handed, 87%.
Wow.
So we are the hyper-partisan people here. But they are content with, basically they just want uniformity. They don't want any, they don't even want to hear the other side, the other argument. And so it makes you wonder, who are the authoritarians?
Right.
Who are they?
And it begs the question. So we have videos literally about loving your country despite our faults.
Which we fully own up to.
We own up to. We talk about many issues, stains on American history in our PragerU videos, and in an age-appropriate way when warranted in our PragerU Kids videos as well. We do mention slavery. We do introduce what this horrible thing called slavery was
Because it
in an
happened.
age-appropriate way because it happened. But that doesn't mean that we cannot, that doesn't mean that we should not allow children to recognize that America is the most free place on earth and that we must protect that and we must celebrate it and we must honor it and we must defend America so that we can have liberty. Why is it that BLM, Black Lives Matter organization, can provide lessons about activism, globalism, and transgender affirming care in LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District, for 1 week every single February, but PragerU Kids is prohibited from even being included in lesson plans for Constitution Week in September? I mean, that's when you start asking the question, okay, what happened to true education? What happened to equality? What happened to inclusivity for all? Because if it really does mean inclusivity for all, then it means that theoretically BLM lessons can happen in September and PragerU lessons can happen in September.
You get both. And that is the American ideal. It's the ideal is freedom, and you get to teach that, but they don't even want that. And again, you have to think, what is the end goal here?
Yeah.
The end goal is to silence opposition.
Yeah.
So it's as clear as day.
And I want to get into, in this article, when I say that state Democrats launched an attack on allowing PragerU Kids in schools, essentially state Democrats in Louisiana launched, what do they call it? Launched an attack, resolutions.
Yep.
Deliberate attacks. They introduced resolutions SR 152 and HR 323 explicitly condemning PragerU as discriminatory and anti-Semitic, an organization run by devout Jews, right? Okay,
yeah,
makes no
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
But this is an attack on freedom of education. This is an attack on freedom of information, to have the information even available to students and teachers who wish it to be so. Continuing in the article, there was a fight, and the Louisiana Democrats, and we have a few videos on PragerU.com with Marissa Streit, our CEO, and Dennis Prager discussing the details of this attack. And there is a particular video where they talk to Dr. Cade Brumley in Louisiana, really discussing what went on. But essentially what happened was that these Democrats in Louisiana launched an attack to try and prevent Dr. Brumley from being confirmed as the state's superintendent for his second term, mind you.
Yeah.
He had already served one term successfully. He was up for his second term. Louisiana Democrats launched this attack against him, trying to prevent him from being confirmed because he decided to open the doors of academic freedom and allow PragerU to be included. That is an attack on the minds of our young people, as far as I'm concerned.
It is, and it's also every kind of bullying thug tactic
Yes.
to anybody who has the gall to expand the content base of education in an optional way. I mean, this isn't, again, I mean, that we keep emphasizing that, but this is somebody who wants more perspective in education, and that cannot be allowed.
Yeah.
That cannot be allowed. And so, I mean, this is where we are. This
Yeah.
is where we are, where our people that want to, have anything to do with us can expect their careers to be threatened.
Yeah, yeah. And thank goodness his career was not threatened because
Well, it was threatened, but
it was
wasn't-
threatened.
yes,
It was
yes.
threatened, but it was
I mean, it went forward. It
unsuccessful.
was unsuccessful.
It was
yes.
unsuccessful
Yeah.
because if you continue in this article, State Representative Beryl Amady, I apologize, I've mispronounced the name, the chairwoman of the Louisiana Freedom Caucus, said Prager University is renowned for teaching American exceptionalism and our imperfect founding, yet they also teach that our American ideals and values are superior to those who wish to enslave America to communism. And she continued, we at the Louisiana Freedom Caucus welcome the balance that PragerU and the Louisiana Department of Education partnership brings to school curriculum to counter the hate America agenda of the left that is rampant in our country today. So Dr. Cade Brumley was in fact reconfirmed to serve as the superintendent of Louisiana schools for this next term. The Louisiana Democrats' attack was unsuccessful, which is a win. But Richard, this brings me to communism. And we often ask, how did we get here? Why is this happening? I mean, these are common themes that we've all discussed. Online, in real life, at work. I discuss this with fellow parents at my kids' schools. And the answer is, it's not hyperbole, it is communism. And I got to tell you, I brought up the 1958 book called The Naked Communist. And this book was by W. Cleon Skousen. Did I pronounce it correctly? Skousen?
Sounds right to me, yes.
W. Cleon Skousen, I'll say that, former FBI special agent. Back in 1958, he published this book called The Naked Communist, and in this book, he revealed 45 declared goals for the communist takeover of America. And I've pulled them up on the screen here. The source of this list is from none other than Marxists.org, okay? So here are some of the 45 declared goals for the communist takeover of America. And you can look these goals up for yourself. It's all out there. It's online. I'm just going to go through them quickly. Number 17, get control of the schools. Number 28, eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the ground that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. Goal number 30, discredit the American founding fathers. Number 37, infiltrate and gain control of more unions. Number 40, discredit the family as an institution. Number 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. So the bad news in all of this is that these goals have seemingly already been implemented in our social structure. I mean, get control of the schools. You just laid out that the overwhelming majority of educators are left-leaning. Eliminate prayer of any phase. Have we not seen a severe backlash of Louisiana, again, wanting to post the 10 Commandments in every single classroom? The schools of Oklahoma, the superintendent, Ryan Walters, said, Let's include teaching of the Bible. Let's talk about discrediting the American founding fathers. How many times have you heard, oh, the American founding fathers were racist slave owners and they're taking down their statues and they're removing their names from
And that's
school
it.
taxpayer-funded property and nothing else.
Yeah.
Discredit the family as an institution. In California and across the country, we have school districts and state education departments saying that parents should not be informed should their child wish to go by a different pronoun or gender at school. These declared goals of communism are already in effect. Am I losing it?
Well, this is what I'll say. So, I mean, there was a lot of fear of communism in America during the 20th century, and for good reason. I mean, there were communists that had infiltrated the United States. Now, with that said, certain groups, like, say, Joe McCarthy, or even this Skuzen fellow, you can argue about what they did and whether it was right or wrong. I mean, there were sometimes they definitely went too far in that.
Right, and I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
and the left has they've talked about McCarthyism, and they ignore the fact that there was real communist infiltration in the United States. That is a fact. Now, with that said, I would say that when you study the history of communism, there are all these different schools of thought, but you see, they say that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, right?
Okay.
So every situation is going to be a little different. However, with that said, you often see a desire to infiltrate the enemy. When Stalin was basically trying to take over all of Europe, he had taken over Eastern Europe, he very specifically gave instructions to communist parties in Western Europe. And he would tell them, look, don't go all out. These socialist groups, don't declare yourself socialist. Just call yourselves center-left and partner, be part of a coalition in the government and take over the police. And that's how you eventually take over, because they knew if you were just 10% of the population, but you could take over the most important part of the government, you could have control of it. And that's what happened.
Wow.
If you look in China, people know the Cultural Revolution. Mao launched this giant revolution essentially to restore his power. How did he do it? He weaponized children, college students,
Yes.
high school students, middle schoolers. He knew the power of numbers, and he knew how to manipulate people. And so, okay, in America, people are going to say, oh, it's not exactly the same. Well, here's the thing. It echoes those things. And what is the end goal? The end goal is to get rid of the opposition. We talked about what communism is. Communism is a class-based ideology. It believes that the proletariat class will destroy all oppressors and impose a dictatorship, and there will be it'll be like a one world government, right? So they do not recognize nation states, because nation states are just an obstacle to getting this worldwide government. So if that's the case, of course they hate patriotism, because patriotism celebrates our nation state, the United States of America. So they have to trash it. They have to get rid of it. They have to get rid of the family. BLM had all sorts of things before they took it down, because they didn't want people to see it.
It's still there. You can still find it online.
Exactly, yeah. About how horrible the family is. Because, again, that's an obstacle on the path to utopia. But if you ask anyone in communism, they'll tell you, this ain't utopia. This is utopia for the one guy at the top who has all the power and gets to eat anything he wants whenever he wants. But it's a hellhole for everyone else, and that's where we're headed.
And the biggest threat is to have children who actually appreciate America, who can defend our way of life, who can defend the need to preserve freedom. That is the biggest threat, because, like you said, the weaponization of children is real.
Yes.
And I hate saying this, because trust me, if someone were to have told me 5 years ago, 3 years ago, that I would be talking in these terms, that, communism has already overtaken our schools according to these goals, look what's happening in real time, it's already happening, I would have, quite frankly, slapped myself across the face and said, Jill, you are nuts. But it's not. It's reality. And more people, I'm thankful to say, are opening our eyes, and that really is our why. That is the foundation, core why of why we are making resources for families and parents at PragerU Kids. Because the bad news is that, yeah, these 45 goals of communism may already be implemented in most of our schools across the country. But the better news is that parents are more powerful than them. I mean, hey, check out goals number 40 and 41. Like I said, goal number 40, discredit the family as an institution. Goal number 41, emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. What does that tell you? There are few entities more powerful than parents, and it is within our control to teach our children our values, the foundation, and how fragile liberty is, the appreciation of our nation despite our flaws. We can do this, but as parents have to be assured and assertive and really immediate with this treatment plan for the sickness that's overtaken this nation. I really do believe that.
Yeah, and getting them informed is so key. Because the thing is that Marxism, extremism, communism, it masks itself as something else.
Yeah.
And so it says, no, we're not really, we love the parents. Oh, by the way, we control the curriculum, right? They thrive on ambiguity. And where we can shed a light and get parents to see what's really happening, when you do that, they start kind of scurrying away. Oh, we didn't mean that, and then they change their websites and all that kind of stuff.
And look at what happened in the Louisiana legislature.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
launched the resolutions against Dr. Brumley. They thought they were going to win. They did not, because we fought back.
Exactly.
And the good people who are also leaders in Louisiana fought back and said, no, you're not doing this. And the opposition recoiled because they were in fact wrong. And the lies that they were wielding were in fact lies.
So you can in fact win.
Yes, you can
when you
in
fight
fact
back.
win.
Yes.
And here's my big call. First of all, I want to go to the comments really quickly before I get
this
to
is
my
gonna be
big
good. This
call
is
to
gonna be
action.
good.
I have a big call to action for parents and families. Okay. Declared goals of communism, LOL. Well, you can look it up and read them yourself. It's from the 1958 book, The Naked Communist. Let's see. Oops. This is what happens. I scroll through the comments and then I end up clicking out of them. No, it's to silence hate. Why would anyone... Oops, I missed that comment. I'm reading these cold. Why would anyone want your hate education in their schools is beyond me. Ironically, now that the people your so-called education has been discriminating against is fighting back, you people are now trying to play the victim card. GTFOH. Okay, Jackson's Cravings, thank you for leaving your comment. However, I don't classify hate education as videos and books that celebrate equality of who we all are through our differences together. And that really is what we do, and the content of our resources. I challenge you, Jackson's
I wonder if
Cravings.
he's read any of our books.
I wonder. I don't know, because it's when people say hate education, how is it hate education to say that we are all here different together, but we are all Americans together, equal opportunity? I don't understand. I have to take a sip of water.
Please.
Continue on, Richard.
Yeah, no, again, when people throw these attacks at us, I wonder if they've even seen our content. And it's so easy to just throw those labels out there. And the thing I've noticed is that when people attack us and you read the articles, it's a headline game. A lot of times they know people are too busy to read. You're right there, Jill. Yeah.
This is what happens when you're live.
No, they know that people don't have time to read all the articles. When people send me articles, I can't read all of them, but they know it's a headline, and they say, oh boy, did you see what PragerU did? What a bunch of evil people, racist.
Right.
But it's so lazy. It's so lazy, and it's extremely cynical. There was this recent video that, or this article actually in the Washington Post that attacked us because it said that we had a video on Frederick Douglass, Leo and Layla, and it said that we were portraying him as being okay with compromising on slavery. Well, what they didn't tell you is that he opposed the compromises on slavery in the 1850s, but he did not blame the founding fathers for supporting slavery.
That's
he
right.
very explicitly praised the Constitution as, quote, a glorious liberty document. He said that straight out. And he also said that he believed that the Union was a good thing because it would tie the states that had slaves with the states that didn't have slaves. So it essentially create anti-slavery pressure on the southern states. That's what the founding fathers did when they created the Union.
Yeah.
But they never tell you that. They say, oh, he opposed the slavery compromises of 1850, therefore he must have opposed the slavery compromises of 1787 when they created the Constitution. Well, he knew that by creating that union at the start of that country, it would set the South on a path towards emancipation.
Right.
But that's a very different thing from opposing it 74 years later. But it's those little things. They're so disingenuous. They don't explain the slight difference.
And then they accuse us of rewriting
of not
history.
knowing the history. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's what we can do. Big call to action, parents and families. And I'm saying this call to action specifically for the 4th of July, if you are watching live now. Gather your family, read the Declaration of Independence, read the Constitution. You don't have to read all of it in one sitting. It's really great if you do, but read these things. Take your family and discuss, even for 5-10 minutes, what Independence Day is. We have all of the tools for you at PragerU Kids. Right now we're watching a video of our Declaration ceremony that teaches our children about the American Revolution through a family activity that involves iced tea and strawberries and red, white, and blue food and salty pretzels for the tears of the soldiers who fought at Valley Forge. It involves, reading parts of our Declaration of Independence, signing your name to a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Because if we as parents and grandparents and caregivers do not teach our children the foundations of this country, we unfortunately may not have very many more July 4th birthdays left.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And I don't say that as a scare tactic. I say that as a very in real time reality. You know, we have all of the instructions that you can download for free. This is all free on our website. It's a document that you can print out for your family to do this declaration ceremony. And there it is on screen. PragerU Kids, 4th of July, Independence Day Declaration Ceremony. All of the tools you need, all of the scripts that your kids can read. It's a fun activity. It literally takes 10 minutes. And there's no reason why everyone cannot do this before the barbecue, before the fireworks, before you do the big red, white, and blue dessert. I like to make my kids have, we do a birthday cake, and we get a number of candles. So like this year, we're going to have 248 for America.
That's
248.
impressive.
We sing happy birthday.
That's a lot.
We have to recognize these events.
I would have done it by decade.
By decade, I know.
25 candles is good enough.
We have to do, no, you get the actual numbers. Number 2, number 4,
I
number
see,
8.
I see.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't
I
do
thought
that.
you were
I
going
can't
to do
stick to my-
200. I was very impressed by that.
That would be really impressive.
Yes,
But
yes.
if we do not teach our children why we celebrate these big American holidays, they're not going to learn and understand. So my challenge is dedicate 10 minutes this 4th of July. Dedicate 10 minutes a day this summer with your kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, to learning what freedom and equality and patriotism actually mean in everyday life. We have this, in fact, we just launched this fantastic challenge. It's a video watch challenge at PragerU Kids, and it's called Red, White, and You. And there it is on the screen, and it's free. And you put your email and you get a list of our PragerU Kids videos that really teach patriotism and liberty and the foundations. You get the email sent directly to your inbox. Super easy to do. I mean, these are videos that are literally 5 to 10 minutes per video. So 10 minutes a day with your kids this summer.
And you'll learn something.
I myself as a mother learned things that I should have learned that I never learned in school. But this is what will keep the fabric of our nation together.
Absolutely. Yes.
Whether you're Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be very crystal clear on that. Whether you are Democrat or Republican, as long as we understand our shared cultural values and history, we must be willing to say, okay, I honor your diversity of thought.
Absolutely.
Anyway, any final thoughts, Richard? Should
Well,
I see if there's a final comment here?
Even if you hate us, go ahead and do this. Because if you hate us, at least you're challenging yourself and you're reading new content. And if you read it and hate us, that's fine.
I know.
But that's part of what America is. People have the freedom to put this stuff out there. And then, you know, it's like Jefferson said, that if you disagree with them, let them stand as monuments untouched.
Yes.
Where you know, you can tolerate whatever freedom of opinion, right?
I love that quote.
Yes,
And I
yes.
will wrap this up. First of all, Richard, thank you for joining us on this live. We have to wrap up. It is always so enlightening to talk with you. I always get a little bit more educated when I talk to Richard with a depth of knowledge, and it's just really, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
This final comment from Caroline: suppression of thought is so dangerous. And isn't that the truth?
It's so true. It's 100%. I mean, how many Americans have died for that belief right there?
Yeah. Suppression of thought is so dangerous. So in the spirit of not suppressing thought, we urge you to celebrate 4th of July, Independence Day, with your families, with your friends. Do the fireworks, do the barbecue, do the ice cream, do the pools, do the swimming, do the beer, do everything, but take 10 minutes to teach your children and discuss with them why we celebrate this holiday and why it is so important to learn about freedoms. We, the parents, must be stronger than all of those misguided people implementing the 45 goals for a communist takeover. Because if we are not stronger than them, our nation will no longer exist. We thank you for all of your support. We invite you to subscribe to PragerUkids.com for free. And for more conversations about all of these education issues, some of these conversations with Richard, in fact, visit PragerU.com, Parent Alert. Happy Independence Day. Happy Patriot Month. That's what I call it.
Yes, Patriot Month.
Patriot Month.
Yes. Happy
And
4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. And we will
Yes.
see you next time. Bye-bye.